looking at your feet, Miss April. What's that package?
UPS.
Oops. It's an ups package?
Yes, it's an ups package because it ups our game.
Ups our game.
Yeah.
So before we go into the ups package, by the way, hi people. Yep, that's going to be really big because I was close up. This is, I'm going to actually explain it and then I'm going to have April. So I'm going to ask you some questions.
You're killing me.
I know. I'm killing her. I'm not, because it's our show. So, April,
Yes.
I know what's in that package. We're not going to tell anybody what's in that package quite yet. How long have you waited to have that in your hand?
Since July 2009.
Since July 2009. And what was in July 2009?
It was the morning or the night I landed in Hawaii.
Okay.
For the very first time.
For the very first time in Hawaii. Yep, she's showing off her vacationing Hawaii things.
No, transferred to Hawaii.
All right, tomato. She was transferred to Hawaii with her military husband and son and got to go there. And the story, why that day is important. It's not the night, it's the next morning, correct?
Yes, because we arrived at like 9:38 at night.
Yeah. So we always talk about, you and I, we talk about the history of things and why things are doing. But every one of us has a significant event or something that sparks an idea or a dream or whatever. So yours is actually the 10th, if the 9th was a date. I was going to say October 10th, but...
That was July. I don't remember the
Don't
exact
do that.
day.
Stop over there. I'm going to take it from you.
The next day.
Okay, so the next day. So what happened? Tell the story of the next morning.
Okay. So,
Let's zoom
the
into
night
you.
before, my son Ben
Zoom
and I transferred to Oahu. We traveled to Oahu.
You're like a statue.
My husband was still in Virginia at a training, and so we went ahead to move to Hawaii as part of military orders. And when we landed in Hawaii, right from the moment that I got off in the airport, I noticed that this place was going to be really different. I never thought I'd ever be in Hawaii, let alone live in Hawaii. So we get to the hotel. Of course, we're exhausted because it's like a 5.5-hour flight, right? And so we get to the hotel. We're staying in Waikiki. We lucked out and got temporary orders to live in Waikiki, poor us, for several weeks until our military housing got arranged. And when I woke up the next morning, I stood out in the balcony and I looked out and I was like, this place is amazing. I don't know if I'll ever get back here. I knew I had 3 years there, but I didn't know if I would ever come back. And so I looked off in the distance. I said, I'm going to take advantage of every single minute I have on this island and just learn and explore and experience everything. And so I went over to the other bed in the room and I shook my 15-year-old son and I said, hey, wake up. We're going to go explore Hawaii. And just like 15-year-olds do, he's like, leave me alone, go to sleep. So I said, okay, see you later. So I went downstairs and I talked to the front desk clerk and I said, I saw in a distance there's a mountain. I'd like to go there. How far is that? Could I walk there? Because I didn't have a rental car. And she said, sure, you can walk there. So I stopped at the Starbucks. I grabbed myself an oat bran bar and a black coffee, and I just started walking toward the mountain. Well, it wasn't as short as you think. It was actually like 7 miles, but it didn't feel an inch over a foot because every single step I took, I saw things I'd never seen before. I smelled things I'd never smelled before. I saw people behaving certain ways. I saw animals and plants and trees, and they were just amazing. And I thought, this place truly is a whole different world. So as I was walking along, I actually saw this tree come up again and again in all these yards and off in the distance, and it was an ugly tree. And then I remember seeing one that it was still an ugly tree, like the bark was all craggy and stuff. But on the tips of the trees, there was these beautiful flowers, and they were the same flowers that people were using to make the lei that they were giving out at the airport. And I said, now how in the heck did this ugly tree get the most beautiful smelling flowers I had ever seen or smelled? And from that moment, that little seed was born. As I walked that 7 miles, I kept thinking, what is this story? How would I tell that story to explain why this tree was the way it was? And I later learned it was the plumeria tree. And over a couple of years, years, that story just kept evolving and evolving in my head. And oftentimes when I go for morning walks, I would think about the story and it would keep evolving. And fast forward to a couple years ago when I helped my friend Sean, who's my cameraman right now,
What up?
put his book together. It started again that maybe I could actually turn this into a book because I'd always wanted to do that. And, you know, of course, having somebody around me that says, you know, why not? Do it. So I played with the story some more and found an illustrator once, found an illustrator twice, and finally found an illustrator who happened to be one of my former students, Sydney Evett, and shared with her the story. She said absolutely, and we put together what is in this box.
So what is in that box? What we believe. We're hoping.
I hope so.
We're hoping because this will be a great take, but it'll be a horrible climax. What do you call? Yeah, climax if it's not. But we believe that actually we'll open her up.
Okay, there you go.
And we'll open her up.
Oh my gosh, I got chills.
So put it down, put it on your lap. Let's zoom back out a little bit.
Okay.
You gotta use your muscles, you do boot camp.
No, it's not that.
Girl power. Turn it. Let's zoom in. A little lower on your face.
It's my book.
Look up, man.
Oh my gosh, it's my book.
Okay, so guys, this is her first time seeing her story in action.
That is so amazing. Mwah.
And so what is your book called?
It's called The Pononoko and the Lonely Tree.
A Pokonoko.
Also
Let's zoom in.
known as Pokonoko. Good God.
Look, it's even got her picture on the back. Let's see stop doing that. Shows it. So it shows that. And there's, it's edited and formatted by Ben, which is April's son. So family got a hold. She had a student, Sydney, who did the illustration.
Yeah.
Open to a page. Just show us a page.
Show you page.
Random
There you
page.
go. I should have some characters on the
All
page.
right. So on the right is a Pokonoko. And I'm saying that wrong because I refuse to call her by her right name. And then if you know me, and then actually on the left is the girl. So this is April's first time seeing it in hard copy, holding her own book. I did this 3 years ago?
Yeah.
3 years ago, and it was an amazing moment. And now, so April, I know those pictures.
Yes. These are the pictures that we took when we went to Hawaii for the last part of our research for the book.
Yeah, that was a struggle. I so hated having to go to Hawaii and be a photographer.
So hard for us to do that. This is amazing. Oops, it's kind of stuck. I'll have to play with that one. I don't want to pull too hard. It looks like it's stuck. So I'll have to figure it out. Snafu number 1.
So tell me, right?
What?
So this 2009 to 2019, it's 10 years in the making. When we started putting our book together, Just a Thought, the first one, you didn't know anything about putting the book together. I didn't know anything about putting the book together. After we started putting the book together, you told me you had a story as well. You're like, I would love to do a story one day.
Yes.
And my response to you was what you said earlier, just do it. Why not? I mean, so I never planned on putting a story together. I never planned on having a book. I never planned on being an author. It's still hard for me to tell people I'm an author, or actually a writer. I say I'm an author, but it's hard to say a writer. You, on the other hand, was opposite. You knew you wanted to write this story.
Okay.
You wanted a Pononoko, I can say it right, so people don't get it wrong, to exist. And it was a dream that you hoped to eventually do. So now, the question is, now that it's in your hand after 10 years, what is your real, what is, A, your feeling about it, feeling about what you got, and I know it's raw and it's new, but B, how does it feel to finally attain that? You know, reach that something that that might have been just a pipe dream, you know,
Yeah.
but it was a dream, and now you have it in your hand.
So it's funny you mentioned that because since 2009, since I started thinking about the story, I always said I would, and I didn't take the step until, like, I think about all the things that led up to today, and you know, learning all the lessons that we did and putting your books together, just believing that you kind of like step out there and put yourself out there. It's easy to say, oh, one day I'm going to make a book. One day I'm going to put this in a book, you know. But honestly, I don't think I could. I don't think I would have taken the step the way I did, as quickly as I did, if we hadn't done what we did. I honestly don't believe it. And it's so funny because I thought this last night as I was thinking about the book coming in. You know, we have been really talking to folks about living every tiny moment exceptionally, and I had not made this connection until just the other day. Is that moment that I landed in Hawaii? That was the perspective. Is I had 3 years. I knew I had 3 years to be there, and I was going to live every moment, and I was going to find everything. And so the fact that those two things converged when they did was the reason I think that this came together. I really do. And it's so cool. My stomach feels so weird right now.
It is cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and what you guys don't know is when and I know I'm behind the camera, but I'm talking, when I put my book together and I first got it, I'm more nonchalant about most things. I'm just kind of like, this is cool. And April was probably 5 times happier for me having my book than I was. Like, and I was happy, but she was like giddy. So I know that this is an important a step, and we just did a video. Or I just did a video on the Twitters about the process of selling books and that stuff, and what it means. And this is kind of one of the first pieces of that is getting your book and seeing it for the first time. You know, I don't think even having done it, can explain what that feels like. You know, and it just seems unreal,
So cool.
right? And she's gonna hug it and love it and call it George.
Probably.
Um,
It's easier for
um,
than
she's gonna hug
it's
it.
just so weird. It's really weird. It's so cool. Guys, do whatever you do, just do it. Like, I'm thinking right now that this is going to be in somebody's hands. Maybe not this happy.
The stuck page is yours.
The stuck page is mine. But, you know, this is going to be in somebody's hands, and I didn't worry about that. And I think that just removing that, about worrying what other people think, that made it so much easier. Just doing it, you know?
So, do you think being a part of I'd adjust my angle, being a part of what we've done,
Yeah.
all the book signings, I think we've done well over 30, for, book signings. Excuse me, for art, for Just a Thought 1, 2, and 3, and seeing that process not only with me, but with a bunch of authors from the NIWA group, the New Northwest Independent Writers Association, and the Claw Group, the Kids Up Literary Artists and Writers. So we're gonna name drop because we're professional, right? Right, we're professional. You know, seeing authors who have one book or two books, you know, like our buddy, one book like Larry Fowler, or 6 or 7 books like Peter Stockwell, or 700 books like Lee French, from NIWA, right? Does that make it easier because you got to see that process and feel and be around all that, knowing what it's like to see other people buy a book and see authors sign, get to sign? So does that make it easier to kind of go to, as you just said a second ago, to kind of push away
Yeah.
and just let it go?
Yeah, because it's not territory that's unfamiliar. Like, I've watched it for for so long. It doesn't mean that my experience is going to be the same as your guys' experience, but it is neat when you go into a new place and then you return to that place. You bring all that knowledge with you, and yeah, it makes it so much easier. What's so funny about that is just seeing this. I've been thinking about. I've had an idea for another series on aviation just because I've had that. I have wonderful people that I've met along the way, and just their excitement about that. I was like, it makes that part easier. It's not about generating books. It's about telling your story and telling the stories that you want to tell for yourself, And so, yeah, being in that environment over and over again, I've learned so much. Not just putting the books together, but, about people and about why people read and why people love books and why people don't love books. And I see all these authors putting themselves out there and, knowing that it does, I know Sean and I might disagree on this, but it does take some, you are kind of vulnerable when you put it out there, but that vulnerability doesn't have to be something that's scary. It's something where you go, yeah, it just is, but you do it anyway because you believe in it, because you love it, and you're like, this overshadows any of that, like all of that, and it's like, look, I made a book. I don't know, it's really exciting.
And it is, and we don't disagree. When you put your writing out there, it's your heart and soul, whatever that is. Whether it's a fictional story, whether it's like my book's nonfiction, it's life. I mean, it's almost even harder because I put out opinion, and I talk about things that people want to talk that don't always want to talk about, or at least out in public. But we create a fictional story. We create these stories. Get rid of the box. Yeah, get rid of the box. We need to see it put in a no-go. So the process, and we're at 17 and a half minutes, the process that we go into this thing, and so we're going to actually use this also as a lesson, right? Because it's amazing that we get to do this, and we don't always get, when we did our book, my first book, you and I sat in your house with coffee, cookies, Toll House cookies, coffee, and we sat at the chair and opened up the book for the first time, and we saw it, and we explored it, and then we ran back and gave the wife, Kesia, her copy. We spent 6 months putting that book together. You spent just about the same amount of time once you got the story and you wrote the story and the first illustrations. I went over it with you. And, I mean, there was a lot of hands involved in putting that, 40 pages?
I was just going to say, this was not a lonely process. I mean, in addition to Sean's help, I mean, even just telling the story to, like, my friend Delane, and she said, well, why is that? The minute people got it,
It looks like you're grabbing flies.
Or they asked a question, or they said, well, what does that mean, and why did you do that? Because if you go it alone, you just have that track.
Mm-hmm.
But it's nice to have people along the way to say, hey, did you think that? Or did you think that? And so it really is, I can see the different people, the handful of people, because it wasn't a ton, but a handful of people that somehow touched this. So when I look at this book, I can see their fingerprint on the book. And to me, that makes it even more special.
Yeah, I know when we talked, we were just at a show this weekend, at the fair or something or other. The kids have fun. Yeah, those words. Good thing I write them down. And I just talked to somebody about, my books would have never came out had people not supported my words, right? We need support. We need support. My book wouldn't. I always tell people I give you a lot of credit for my book even being, because I had all the words, but I didn't have the person to help drive it, and it didn't exist without you, right? And so I think a person who's trying to write a book or wanting to publish a book, what is that lesson that you may have gotten? Actually, we'll do it this way. Give me three lessons that you would give a first time author or writer, somebody who's sitting there and they just have the flicker of a dream. They want to write a book. They have a story. They want to write, and it's there. It's raw. Give them three lessons that you learn not only from your process in this, but from our process. I mean, you and I have 3 books put together under my name, my books together, and now you have, which is totally different, I'm sure, when it's your name on it, when it's your face in the back of it. Turn around, turn the book around. You see us zoom in. See that's April's face right there. Her professional picture, down by a local photographer actually.
Who, by the way, gave me her time and expected nothing.
So even that.
She's growing as a photographer, and she said, I need people to play around with, learn my skill. So even that's really cool.
So
3 lessons?
3 lessons.
Okay. From my experience, I would say just write it. Don't worry if it's messy. Don't let that. It's not going to be perfect at first. This thing has changed several times.
Even the name.
Even the name changed. Yeah.
Thank you, Sean.
And it's cool because when you do that, it builds a history. So it kind of has a fun story behind the story. Second one is really basically, why not? Just why not? And the next thing I would tell you is don't worry about other people. Just go. Just go. That's it.
I like it. So, because this is our show, I'll add that to the caveat to that end one, that third one. It's your story. Write it. Like when you came to me and said, "Sean, what do you think of this?" I know the reason the name got changed because you had a different sort of name.
It was a Pono. It was actually the beginning.
Yep, and I kept calling it Pokonoko because Pononoko actually has a meaning, and it fit your story. Right?
Yeah.
If you were steadfast to a Pono, or if I was just like not me and not make it different, be weird with it, you wouldn't have had that story. So you got to be flexible. So I think I would say, be steadfast in your story, but also be flexible. Be willing to listen to all criticism, but all criticism is supposed to be taken with a grain of salt, not taken literally. Some is not going to work for you, and like you said, tell your story, and why not, right? Why not?
And I think that first part comes from just slowing down and listening to other people. Don't worry about it. Actually, I'm going to add a 4th lesson. Tell people what you're doing. It's amazing. No, but I mean, you have people in your life that you can tell people what you're doing. You don't have to tell them, that it's coming out or whatever. Say, I have an idea for a story. Sometimes they just want to hear it. And it's amazing what might come of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when you talk, yeah.
I'm not a big fan of setting yourself up for failure, but I am a big proponent of saying, if you're doing it, just share. Hey, I have this idea for a story. What do you?
Yeah, be proud. And I think we're 23 minutes. I think you know me. Nobody can see this camera, but when you said tell people, what did I do? Right? I made a face, and the reason being is because I'm not a fan of the public declarations, because 90% of public declarations fail, and the reason being is because you set yourself up for failure. You set yourself up for failure because you put a deadline. I'm going to do this by then. This book was supposed to be out by July, right? Last time I checked, it's not July, and the beginning of July.
August 27th.
Right, it's supposed to be out before the summer. We're going to have this book. We're going to be able to have it at some of the events we just did, and you got your first proofs, hard copies today, right? And I think at one point you had told a couple people you were doing it. It was going to be out by July, and I had said, don't do that, and you had got stressed out over it for a little bit. You got a little stressed out over it for a little bit, and we do that. And then, like for my book, I told no one. Right, but that's just my personality. But talking about it, and telling a story, that's important because you never know what you learn from someone else. Like Delane asked a couple questions, and Delane is one of April's good friends from Hawaii, Ken and Delane. We got to stay with when we took the pictures for it. They were gracious enough to let us come. They never knew me, and they let me come and stay at their home. And we spent 4 days there, but she did. And April started, and as the more you told your story, the more you told the story of of what it was about,
Yeah.
the easier it got, and the more it became realistic, and then it morphed,
Yeah.
right? And then it morphed. It's empty.
I know I saw a hummingbird. Check out.
Her hummingbird feeder's empty. See,
And there was a
empty.
hummingbird looking. He was looking. So I need to feed him.
She's a horrible hummingbird mom.
I've been pretty big, Mom.
Okay. So anyway, so this is Let Me. We're gonna insert this before all the other videos because this is important. This is such a cool thing. I'm super proud. So I'm gonna end with a point, and then I'll let April finish off since it's her day. As a friend, a business partner, and a person who's been here from the beginning, you know, it is amazing to see, you know, her dream come to life, and to see the smile and the look and the joy, as you can see, as she's examining. She's never seen the hard copy, so what you're watching currently is her literally looking at it all for the first time, hard in her hands. So if you have a dream and you want to really do something, man, do it, because this is what it feels like when you finally get it done. So April, the floor is yours. You'll end this out, and you'll say the goodbyes.
Okay. Guys, go for it. I'm so excited. Check it out. It's amazing what you can do. Guys, why not? Go for it. Bye. Thank you. Sorry, I'm speechless.
We'll just keep recording her. Right?
Just flippin' believable.
Well, you know what? Actually, I'm gonna add one more thing.
Okay.
How old are you?
49.
49 years old.
Yes.
And this is something you had never done,
Nope.
right? You imagine,
Says there's not a lot of firsts at our age.
yeah, right? There's not a lot of firsts. And this is joy of doing something that you always wanted to do,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
right? So remember this, you know, if you have questions, if you're curious, this is what we're talking about, right? And that's what I want to say. You know, it's not to show her age. I mean, she looks great for her age. Everybody can tell her how great she looks for her age. Blah blah blah. Right? It's about that joy of accomplishing something you never thought you could, or you might not have thought you would, and you did. So everybody will congratulate April. This is our Let Me, the series, the journey episode. We're gonna insert this into the episode 22. Pie, because we're going to have a 20-second episode, and that'd be weird. So I'm going to call this episode the insertion episode. Thanks for watching, guys. Until next time.